as it always goes in the NBA, there's tons of movement in the offseason, but of course all eyes are on the Lakers, I feel like, now that they've reeled in Westbrook and Carmelo. But I think a lot of people are also really quick to write off the Lakers, saying that they're too old or this or that. But I'm curious what your thoughts are about that team out there in Hollywood.
Well, they're being led by LeBron James. I think people even have written him off as he's still top five in the game today, and Anthony Davis is arguably the best big man in the NBA right now. So they definitely have a lot of experience. I think that what it comes down to is when you look at their roster, you talk about a playoff situation, like how well they mesh together, the five of them, and what their bench looks like. Because you see down the stretch, bench points are huge. When you see, guys that can come in and spell minutes for starters. And at some point throughout the year, somebody else that's not their best three players is going to have to win a game for them. That's what it takes for championship teams to win.
We're seeing what Tom Brady's doing in the NFL, but how many more years do you see your former teammate LeBron staying in the league and playing at the highest level? What does it take to maintain that longevity in the NBA?
It takes a lot because when you get to that age, you're working twice to three times as harder than you did when you're younger. You have to think about what you're doing off the court as much just to stay in that same health arena, competitive spirit, nature, environment.
Yeah.
And LeBron certainly has it. He's been stretching like a madman forever before and after games and practices. So I believe he can keep it up. His greatest challenge coming up will be about the players around him, shouldering some of that burden of that responsibility. So he learns to play the game and be more efficient, not having to be on the court as long and having to have the ball in his hand as much. When other players step up and carry that load, it will allow him to play even 3 or 4 more years.
Well, the Lakers embodied tons of movement. One player that is wishing for movement is Ben Simmons. And it's definitely a crazy situation playing out right now in Philadelphia. So I want to put you in the shoes of both Ben and the Sixers organization. So what is the mentality right now with that situation?
Well, I mean, you have to rewind back to the end of the year last year after the playoffs, and he didn't have a great playoff, and a lot of vitriol was spewed from the Philadelphia side about Simmons. So as a young player, you take that personally. You take that as a dig or an insult. The one thing Ben should take from this situation is that this is what I need to work on. If I'm going to be in the primetime slot playing in Philadelphia, I have to be able to carry this team to victory, because this is on my shoulders. So you see it front and center, responsibly wise. So now he's got to do his job and get better. And the organization, they have to make sure that they covet him and show him that he's the guy that they want to move forward with, despite what is being said in the airways, what is being said in the city, because he is their player.
Yeah.
And it's important that they protect him and cover him until, if you do have a trade on the table, you have to be honest about that. If you want to move him, you have to be honest about that as well. But you can't be on 2 separate pages and spewing, a different narrative and then trying to trade him and not really being upright and honest about it.
I'm curious, as obviously one of the greatest shooters of all time, how much of shooting is craft that you can work on versus just being born with it? And I'm curious, like with Ben Simmons, does he have room for that growth? And does that come down to just putting in the work, or is that something that you're born with? I'm always curious about that.
Well, the born with label has always been it's been laughable to me, because if you would have seen me in 10th grade, there was nothing about me that could shoot a jump shot. I wasn't really a basketball player. I was just a guy that, a kid that wanted to play sports, and then I picked up a basketball and I just would throw it in there. And I have video of my form. And so you're not blessed with anything. You're not gifted with a jump shot. It's pure work, So what Ben has is he has all his faculties to figure out what he needs to do. Like he's got to find the best workers, whoever's on his team that's shooting jump shots, and you gotta cleave to them and figure out how he can put the work in so he can start to mirror what a real jump shot is in the NBA, and a real fourth quarter jump shot at that.
Hey, sports fans, if you want to watch more sports seriously, be sure to check out these clips right here. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all the great content from us here at USA Today Sports.